Hello everyone. In this class we are going to learn the greatest novel Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. He is a great novelist who has written this story about the sea pirates. We can learn the novel closely. Some of the major characteristics in order of the appearance in the novel: Jim Hawkins, the narrator of the Treasure Island; Billy Bones, or old buccaneer, a drunken loner of the pirate with a mysterious sea chest; Dr. Livesey, doctor who treats Jim Hawkins' father; a gentleman, a magistrate; Black Dog, a seafarer who surprises Bill at the inn. He is missing two fingers on his left hand. Pew, a blind man, frightening voice, who is in search of Bill. Mr. Dance, supervisor of the revenue officer. Dodger, revenue officer. Travaillane, the squire, a tall man. Outfits the ship so find Billy Bones' treasure. Flint, the most wisiest of all pirates, he was a bloodthirsty buccaneer that sailed. Then Tom Redruth, the gamekeeper; Long John Silver, a one-legged sea cook; Mr. Arrow, first mate of Hispaniola; Captain Smollett, captain of the Hispaniola; Job Anderson, boatswain who helps out as the first mate when Arrow disappears; Captain Flint, Long John's 200-year-old pirate; Israel Hands, a mutineer; Hunter, one of the loyal shipmen; Redcap, a mutineer; Joyce, Travaillane's valet, helped the captain defend against the mutineer. Abraham Gray, one of the mutineers, turned back to support the captain. So this is chapter 1 summary. Part 1, the old buccaneer. An old pirate comes to stay at the Admirable Benbow Inn, which is run by narrator's ailing father. The pirate refers to himself as a captain and pays the narrator a silver fourpenny every month to look out for a seafaring man, especially a sailor with only one leg. The rest of his stay is spent drinking and thrilling the guests in the inn with the tales and singing. Dr. Livesey speaks when the captain indicates silence, so the captain threatens him with a knife. Livesey, who is also official, challenges the captain with a legal action, whereupon the old buccaneer backs down. Old buccaneer. Buccaneer is nothing but a sea pirate, a thief. Then Chapter 2. Black Dog appears and disappears. The narrator's father gets sicker during the winter. A stranger comes to the inn inquiring about his old mate, Bill, who happens so fat, the description of the old buccaneer. Black Dog surprises Bill, and she too begin a discussion, which escalates into a fight. As a result, Black Dog is cut on the shoulder. He narrowly escapes death and run away. Following the fight, the captain suffers a stroke. We learn the narrator's name, Jim Hopkins. Jim and Livesey bleed the captain to bring him back to the consciousness, and the doctor warns Bill and Billy Bones that drinking could kill him. Learn closely. Chapter 3. Black Spot. Billy Bone is recovering from his stroke but suffering from alcohol withdrawal. He pursues Jim to bring him rum. When satisfied by rum, he asks Jim to fetch the doctor and explains him that Admiral Benbow Inn needs protection from the Flint. Flint is the captain, who is on the hunt for Bones' sea chest. Jim's father dies, which distracts Jim from beginning the old buccaneers, recourse for protection to the doctor. Several days later, a hunter, blind man, find his way to the inn and ask him for the direction. Then, grabbing Jim's arm, the blind man threatens to break it if Jim does not lead him and the old buccaneer. Jim's relevance and leads the blind man to Billy Bones. The blind man passes something into the captain's palm and skips away. After the blind man departs, the captain looks at his hand, declares 10 o'clock. Well, do them yet. Then drops the debt of apoplexy. Then next chapter. Chapter 4. The Cheat Chest. Jim tells his mother about the dangerous man coming for the captain's cheat chest. Jim and his mother leave the Admiral Benbow to seek help in town. Captain Flint and his men strike in the village, and no one is willing to help Jim and his mother. Jim takes a packet from Billy's cheat chest, and his mother takes only the money owed her from Billy's stay. They escape just before the band of pirates arrives. Jim under a bridge, leaving his fainting mother on the bank. Chapter 5. The Last of the Blind Man. Jim listens from the bank as a band of pirates led by Poe, the blind man, burst into the Admiral Benbow. The pirates see that Bill is dead, but Poe is not prized. He is focused only on the chest, which he quickly sees has been returned out. Although the money remains, Flint's first is gone. Poe notices that Jim's lamp is still lit and orders the man to go find him, screaming, "It is that boy! I wish I had put his eyes out." Although his lookout sounds the alarm of approaching danger, Poe continues to goad the man, squalling at them to find Jim. The men respond to the Poe's high-pitched anger with a passive irritation, which allows Dr. Livesey, officer, to advance upon them. The pirates scatter and leave Pay, who is trampled by an officer horse. Jim's mother is received. The supervisor, Mr. Dawes, and Jim ride to Kit's Hold to look for the pirates' boat, only to find it offshore. When he calls out to the boat, a bullet whistles past the supervisor's shoulder. Back at the inn, the officers bustles over the damage. Jim reveals that he suspects the pirates were searching for the bucket. Mr. Dawes and Dodger take Jim to Livesey to examine the pocket. Chapter 7. Go to the Bristol. Part 2. The Sea Cook. Dr. Livesey goes to London in search of the physician to take over his practice while he is at the sea. Meanwhile, the doctor leaves Jim with the Red Truth, the general gamekeeper. Jim spends his time alternately brooding and fantasizing about seafaring adventures. Jim's sea dreams are interpreted when he receives a letter from Trelawney, the squire. The squire writes of the schooner he has produced for their voyage, as well as the crew he has gathered. He asks Livesey to come to Bristol as soon as possible. The squire has destroyed the inn and has found a boy to replace Jim while they are away. Jim leaves the inn and his mother without a sentiment and heads to Bristol, anticipating his life at sea. Chapter 8. At the sign of the spyglass. The squire gives Jim a note to deliver to John Silver at the Spyglass Tavern. While delivering the letter, Jim notices Black Dog, who leaves without paying his bill. Silver makes a show of sending 2 men to retrieve Black Dog. Meanwhile, Jim and Long John Silver determine Black Dog's connection to Poe. The men return, confessing that Black Dog has got away. Silver and Jim become fast friends. They go back to the inn where Travaline and Livesey are staying and relay Black Dog's escape. The group plans to set sail at 4 o'clock that afternoon. Chapter 9. Power and Arms. On board, Captain Smollett voices his concern about the voyage. He himself was brought on board under sealed orders, but everyone else seems to know that the purpose of their voyage is buried treasure. He warns Travaline and the doctor that there has been too much loose talk, especially in regard to a certain map. The map, he says, must be keep a secret risk-monitor. The doctor lightheartedly tells the captain that there is nothing to worry about it. Travaline, on the other hand, bristles at smallest concern. The crew sets work taking out to the arm and power. Long John approaches in an offshore boat. He suggests that the crew hurried up, lest they miss the morning tide. When the captain sees Jim idling, he orders Jim downstairs to help the cook. Jim admits that he deeply hates the captain. Chapter 10. The Voyage. The ship sets sailing to the Isle of Treasure with many well wishes from the Travaline's friend. The crew is able and the captain knowledgeable. The voyage is for the most part uneventful, though no one can fathom where and when he takes his alcohol. Mr. Arrow is continually mocked by drunkenness. Indeed, Mr. Arrow is useless as the first mate and eventful disappear completely. Job Anderson takes over as the first mate while maintaining his as boatswain. The narrator turns to Long John's dog. Adapt knowledge. Silver introduces Jim. So Captain Flint, his 200-year-old parrot, who has travelled with pirates her whole life and has the vocabulary to prove it. Travaline and Smollett still do not like each other, but Smollett admits he may have been wrong about the crew. Still, Smollett has a bad feeling about the cruisy and disappearing of the way Travaline spoils the crew with appeals. Jim, on the other hand, takes advantages of the squire's generosity and jumps bodily inside the barrel to retrieve the lost apple. Once inside the barrel, Jim falls asleep only to be awakened by the voice of the Long John Silver. Jim realizes that the lives of all the honest crew depend on him. The next chapter. Chapter 12. Council of War. As the whole crew rushes across the deck, Jim hops out of the apple barrel to join them. John Silver recognizes the land at Skeleton Island, advises Captain Smallest on the lay of the island and where they should drop another. The captain assembles the crew on the deck, prizes their handwork and rewards them with a grog. Shortly thereafter, the three honest men assemble below and call for Jim, who reveals his news of controversy. Travelane immediately admits his mistake, selecting the crew and apologizes to the captain. In turn, the captain decided that the only way to handle this information is to keep a positive outlook and to put prodigious faith in Jim's ability to intermediate between the pirates and themselves. The next chapter, Chapter 13, Part 3, My Shore Adventure. Harmony's shore adventure began. The Hispaniola arrives and Jim dreads setting foot on the island. He volunteers for the boat manned by Long John Silver. Silver helps the man navigate the water under extreme case. The crew becomes increasingly hasty, emitting an air of the mutiny. However, Silver maintains an anxious but willing and civil face while counterbalances with the crew. The captain, in the attempt to allay suspicion, lets the man have a recreational afternoon on the island. As the captain goes below, the man gathered around Silver, who is clearly real leader of the rebellion crew. Silver takes 13 men ashore, leaving 6 men on the board with the captain. Jim decides to go ashore as well, as since his boat is lighter and better mana. He dares get off Silver and the rest of the crew. He bears Silver shouting after Jim. The next chapter, Chapter 14, The First Below. Jim runs into the island jungle and hears a muffled, heated conversation between Long John and another Crimp's member. Because he cannot make out what they are saying, Jim crawls nearest to the two men. John is in fact attempting to bring Tom, the crew hand, over the side of the mutiny. Tom, however, is more concerned with the dirty than the riches. A scream sound which Tom recognizes as Alan's. Indeed, Alan, another of the honest crew, has been mustered. Tom declares, "You have killed Alan, have you? Kill me then." "But I refuses you." Long John obliges and kills him with a great violence. Jim, realizing that he might be next, run into his life. The next chapter, Chapter 15, The Man of the Island. Jim sees a man, monkey-like a figure in front of him, hears the pirates behind him, and considers the two dangers, the known and the unknown. He suspects the wild man might be cannibal, which he ultimately finds less frightening than the murderous Silver. Jim remembers his pistol and commits in the direction of the island man, who suddenly drops to his knees. The man identifies himself as a Ben Gunn, stranded on the island for the last 3 years. He tells Jim he is rich. Jim tells Ben his own tale. They agree that if Ben can help Jim get back to the Hispaniola, Jim will provide Ben with a way off the island. Ben explains how he, along with Billy Bones and John Silver, was on the board Flint's ship when the Flint buried and treasure years ago. Ben also tells how he came to be moored. Jim bears a cannon blast, realizes the fight has begun, and soon discovers that the Union Jack has been rises on the land. The next chapter, Chapter 16, Narrative continued by the Doctor. How to ship was abandoned. At the point when the mutineers and Jim leaves Hispaniola for ashore, the Doctor takes over the narration. The Doctor, hearing that Jim had left the Hispaniola, does not doubt Jim's honesty, but is worried about his safety. Hunter and the doctor go ashore in the jolly boat. Once ashore, the doctor discovers a stalker built by the pirates in the case of an attack. He hears a gunfire, a scream, and fears Jim has been shot. The doctor and the hunter speed back to the Hispaniola where the captain and the squire are shaken by the scream. After arming themselves, the doctor threatens to kill anyone on the board who signals to the mutinous shore. The doctor and his men load the jolly boat with the provisions and arms, then once again make for the shore. The doctor noticed that although the mutineers have advantage in number, their side has advantage in arms. The captain convinces mm, Gray, one of the mutineers, to join the honest man. Chapter 18. Narrative continued by the doctor. End of the first day's fighting. Both Captain Man and Silver's man race to the Captain provision store. The captain gives the squire his gun and the doctor gives Gray his cutlass. The men are well prepared, so when they see the mutineers emerge from the thicket, four of them shoot. They kill one mutineer and send the rest back into the woods. They rejoice to June, however, because um, Bullet kills Tom Retruth. The captain buries himself with turning out his buckets, mounting a flock of makeshift, and places another flock over Tom's body. After several shoots head their way, the doctor suggests that the flock provides the mutineer with a target and they take it down. The captain refuses. The man observes that each mutineer has the musket. They hear someone hailing them. It is Jim Hawkins. Chapter 19. Narrative resumed by the Jim Hawkins. A gun ascertains that since the flock flown above the stockade is not the Jolly Roger, the captain man must be inside. Ben tells him to retrieve the squire or the doctor as he would like to so make a preposition. Both Ben and Jim scatter in opposite direction when lands near them. Jim makes his way to the shore where he sees the raised Jolly Roger and observes the mutineer demolishing the jolly boat with the axes. He notices the oil rack where Ben told him he would find a boat. He later finds his friend in a stockade. The captain gives the man so that they do not get depressed over the recent deaths and inquiry. The man discusses their strategy regarding the mutineer, whose manpower has been reduced from the 19th to 15th. They agree that their best hope is to kill off the mutineer until they down the flock away with the Hispaniola. Jim is awakened by the sound of the swatting. Silver has raised a flock of the trace. Chapter 23. The ebb tide runs. The coral is awaked, spinning and moving sideways more than going forward. The tide carries Jim closer to the Hispaniola. Jim begins to cut the ship from its anchor, but stop when the wind dies and tightens. While awaiting for the wind to pick up and rope to, Jim overhears and Ganner, another hand, arguing with the man in the red cap. Jim cuts the final fibers of the hawser, but can't seem to push the Coral away from the Hispaniola, making the most of the dangerous closeness to Hispaniola. Jim glances inside the ship's cabin window. He sees hands in the deadly vessel with a red cap. Jim suddenly realizes that both his boat and Hispaniola are picking up speed, heading out to the sea. He threatens images his little skill wrestling in the dashing breakers, preparing for death. Jim falls asleep instead. Mm. Chapter 24, Cruise of the Coral. Jim is out. Jim is adrift at the southeast end of the island. He recognizes that if he were the paddle towards shore, he would be dazed upon the grudgy rocks. He sees two sea lions, clumsy monsters which are frightening though harmlessness. Jim figures that so long as he does not interfere with the attempt to paddle, it moves quickly through the waves. Eventually, he is able to slowly maneuver the coral. The coral is destroyed just as Jim hold of the jib boom and climbs on board the Hispaniola. The last. The man transferred the gold from the cave to the Hispaniola, guarding it against possible attacks. After a few days, the drunk and monitors returned. The doctor considered treating them for malaria, but Silver advises against it since they are not a man of their word. In a council, the man agreed to the three monitor. As the ship sails, they see the monitors on shore and begging. One shot from their muskets hits the mainsail. The ship lands in Spanish America to get more hands for the voyage home. Jim, the doctor, and the squire go ashore, leaving the Captain Silver, Ben Gunn to guard the ship. When the three return, Ben Gunn tells them that Silver has fled, taking sake of coins with him. With their fortune, they each spend or save according to the nature. Gray becomes mate, part owner of the ship, and Ben Gunn spent all his money in 19 days. Jim still wakes up from nightmares of either the strophe or of Captain Flint's squealing pieces of eight.